What kind of naughty things did witches really do with broomsticks? Why the tall pointy hats? What do butterflies have to do with magic anyway? And which everyday plants brewed powerful love potions? The truth is juicier than any fairy tale ever told. I'm Minka. Welcome to Mini Minka. Thank you for joining me on this cozy build. I can't wait to reveal to you all the saucy and strange secrets behind these miniatures. Okay, so first I need to build the walls, which seems very basic and not magical at all. But some magic is hidden in plain sight. Did you know? All across England, especially in old houses and barns, you can still find strange markings, especially around the chimney. They're called witch marks. Families scratch them into wood or stone to keep out evil and invite luck. They would have looked like overlapping V's, patterns of interlaced circles, flower petals, or radiating suns. Carving into the walls was like weaving a spell directly into the house. Have you ever noticed strange markings on old buildings? What do you think they meant? Let me know in the comments. Of course, in this magic study, you would expect to find strange markings in the spellbooks and scrolls that will fill these filing cabinets and bookcases I'm making. But did you know there was a famous magic book in history called the Picatrix? It was written in Arabic over 1,000 years ago and later translated into Latin and banned many times since. It contained recipes for summoning spirits, brewing potions, and harnessing the power of the stars. One passage was all about how to carve a statue of Venus, bathe it in perfume, chant incantations under a certain constellation, and the resulting charm would enchant people to fall in love with you. Legend says Queen Elizabeth's court astronomer, or should we say court magician, had a copy and used it and a crystal ball to speak to angels. Today, there's still a copy of the Picatrix in the Vatican. What do you think? Was it a book of knowledge, temptation, or nonsense? Would you try any of its spells? And while we're on the topic, crystal balls or scrying orbs were hugely popular in medieval Europe. Magicians believed the crystal held trapped starlight and revealed divine knowledge. Later, crystal balls became all the rage in Victorian England, with people using them in seances and dimming the lights to see ghostly images flicker inside the glass. Were they seeing real spirits, or were they just fooled by the reflections of candle flames? You might wonder why a witch or a magician would need a little suitcase like the kind I'm building here. Well, at some point in history, it was difficult to distinguish between so-called traveling healers, witches, doctors, and just plain charlatans. They traveled from town to town and performed tricks to draw a crowd, make a ball disappear or conjure a coin, wow the people, then sell them miracle cures. The best sellers? Always the same: charms and powders for love, lust, and fidelity. It was common for these healers to pull teeth in public and make a whole spectacle of it. They'd show off their case of shiny tools and mysterious potions. They were mixing real surgery with magic for extra flair and sales. Wealthy families would have their own special medicine chests and even a household doctor to administer the tinctures. Honestly, these doctors were not so different from traveling healers. They just had better branding. As I'm making this cauldron, it's the perfect time to talk about potions. Do you remember those funny ingredients from Halloween movies you watched as a kid? Eye of Newt wasn't really an eye. It was mustard seed. Toe of frog? Buttercup. Tongue of dog? A fuzzy leafed herb. This was also all about branding. Healers, doctors, even witches made common ingredients seem terrifying, but they were harmless to the healer who knew the recipe. There were occasionally some stranger ingredients: dried toads, snake skins, even bone dust from graveyards. Some people thought the exotic items made the potions more powerful. Love potions were usually quite pleasant. It's probably easier to catch someone's interest if they're in a good mood, so slipping them dried toads was a bad idea. No, it was rose petals in honey, or most often lavender as a tea, or as sachets that people were advised to tuck under the mattress to, well, improve performance. You probably noticed there are quite a few butterflies in this miniature, including this framed butterfly specimen. Butterflies were a symbol of change, which makes perfect sense. We all know about how butterfly transforms from a caterpillar. But it wasn't just about the physical change. In ancient Greek, the word psyche actually means both soul and butterfly, and sometimes even ghost. In some places in Europe, seeing a butterfly enter a home was an omen of death. Elsewhere, butterflies were thought to be messengers between worlds. Their wings would carry whispers from the spirit world. Even alchemists studied them, thinking butterflies held the secret to transform ordinary metal into gold. The magic wand I'm making here also has roots in ancient history. Egyptian priests carried special ceremonial rods, and several gods in Greek mythology used wands to guide and transform. Wands were symbols of divine power, but by medieval times they became linked with sorcery and witchcraft, likely as a way to suppress the old pagan traditions. And speaking of the ancient peoples, here's another juicy tidbit on lavender. In ancient Rome, it was the signature scent of brothels. Imagine walking down the street in ancient Rome. A whiff of lavender was as good as a neon sign advertising, "Available here." Okay, what is it about witches and flying broomsticks? Well, the history is actually quite scandalous. In the late Middle Ages, some women were accused of making flying ointments. These ointments were brewed from poisonous herbs, plants too toxic to swallow, but when absorbed through the skin, they caused vivid hallucinations. And here's where the broom enters the story. The ointment was smeared along the broom handle and applied to the skin in the most sensitive of places. Just think of how one rides a broom. For witch accusers, it was proof of obscene, diabolical rites. But for the women, it might have been a private, intoxicating high that gave a sense of freedom. So was it Satan's ride, as the authorities insisted, or was it liberation, a rebellion carved out of the imagination? A simple household broom became the key to another world. Everyone recognizes the witch hat, tall, black, pointed, but how did it become the symbol of witchcraft? The truth is, its history is a bit messy and combined a few traditional witch accessories. One theory is that the hat goes back to medieval women called alewives. They would sell beer in the streets, often with cats prowling around to protect the grain. Their tall, pointed hats helped customers spot them in the crowd. It was marketing, a big sign on your head saying, "Come drink here." But brewing became big business, and men wanted in. And the easiest way to push women out? Smear their image. The alewife's cauldron became the witch's bubbling pot. The cat became a familiar, and the pointed hat became a sinister crown. Women who had been entrepreneurs suddenly looked like dangerous hags, and men got to run the breweries. Personally, I think the history of magic and witches is so interesting. I mean, once upon a time, before broomsticks and black cats, witches were goddesses. In Homer's Odyssey, Circe lived on her island surrounded by enchanted lions and wolves. She turned men into pigs, sure, but not because she was evil, because she had divine powers and they disrespected her. She commanded nature, potions, and spells with complete confidence. Back then, magic meant power, wisdom, and a touch of danger, a force to be respected rather than feared. Then the Middle Ages rolled in, and the new church wasn't so keen on these pagan methods. Healers, midwives, and herbalists, people who had once been valued for their knowledge, were suddenly branded as servants of the devil. By the 1400s, there were manuals for spotting these women. They warned that witches could fly through the night, curse crops, and ruin men's souls. Cue the witch hunts for the next 300 years. From Europe to Salem, thousands of women were accused, tortured, and executed, sometimes for being outspoken, widowed, or simply a little too independent. Magic had become dangerous, not divine. By the 1800s, though, people started to miss a little magic. Romantic writers brought witches back as mysterious, beautiful, and powerful figures again. They were seductive, clever, and sometimes mischievous, not necessarily evil. Fairy tales split them into two clear types: the ugly hag lurking in the woods, and the glowing fairy godmother watching over the hero. Two sides of the same spell, each captivating in its own way. Then the 20th century arrived, and witches got fun. Glinda sparkled in pink, the Wicked Witch turned green, and Bewitched showed suburban witchcraft as cozy, playful, and often hilarious. By the 90s, witches like Sabrina, the Sanderson sisters, and the girls in The Craft transformed magic into rebellion, friendship, and personal style, sometimes with very dramatic hair. And today, the witch is a hero. Hermione Granger, Wanda Maximoff, Willow from Buffy, smart, brave, and fully in control of her own story. Modern witches light candles, pull tarot cards, and practice rituals that connect them to nature and themselves. From Cersei's enchanted island to Salem's gallows and to Hogwarts' hallowed halls, magic is no longer evil or frightening. It's about agency, curiosity, and empowerment. I hope you enjoyed this cozy build and the stories behind these tiny magical objects. It was definitely a challenge, with plenty of mistakes along the way, but I had so much fun bringing it all to life. Keep an eye out for the bloopers and the full review video coming soon. If you like these little tales, let me know in the comments which object story surprised you the most, or what miniature world you'd love to see me create next. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and sprinkle a little magic on that notification bell. Thank you for watching. I hope this little corner of the internet brought a smile to your day. Until next time, stay curious, cozy, and ready for the next adventure with me, Mini Minka.